want to get line dry.
Want to lose weight?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh. Dom, can I say, dude, I'm a little disappointed.
Bro, if you would have saw me.
Don't have a huge background with like your branding. I don't have a lighting kit. Like, what's going on with you, man? Like, you look like you in a hotel room.
Yes, I'm in a whole. So let me just paint a picture for those of you that knew me a couple meltdowns ago. Like, I'm a different Dom, and my wife can attest for this. I get this call from Kyle, a couple other people. You're on, and I'm like looking at my calendar. I'm like, no, it's an hour. I literally jumped out of the shower. I'm running around the room naked, trying to set up my camera stuff, get some lighting in. Like, it was just not. It wasn't the Dom Faussette that most will ever. Actually, nobody will ever see that except for my wife. But hey, you know what? Things aren't perfect. I'm on vacation with my spouse. We're in Seattle. That's why we don't have all the stuff. But I did bring enough equipment to make this happen.
Command presence, man. Not even when you're naked. Command presence.
Oh man, that was rough.
My dude. As we I appreciate you jumping in. We have George Chanos in the queue. I can't wait for you guys to meet George. Do you know George? Did you like meet George when Ryan Long was doing his event series?
I don't recall.
Hold on a minute. Hold on. When we did our commemoration, I missed Ryan Long. I knew that there was one person that passed this year that was really important that I did. I was writing these names down at 4 o'clock this morning on no sleep. A big shout of respect goes to Ryan Long. You know, we love you. He was a tremendous dude who did a lot for a ton of people. So I apologize, Dom. I can't believe I forgot.
All good, brother.
I can't believe I forgot Ryan Long. Have you met George?
I may have. I'm not sure.
Okay. You're really gonna enjoy what he's done. And I've kind of put you guys back to back on purpose. So for people that don't know Dom Faussette, how we met, we got a great story about how we met. It wasn't Grindr. No, we didn't mean a Grindr. He didn't arrest me when he was a police officer. There's a good chance he probably could have if I was on your beat. We probably would have known each other. I would have known Dom the enforcer, not Dom that I know today. Dom, how did we talked about this yesterday?
Yeah, we did.
Funny story. Let's talk through the story about how we met and how we connected.
I was being coached by Henry Kaminsky at the time. And because you and I both lived at the time in Arizona, he suggested I reach out to you. So at the time, I was not fully vested into the entrepreneurship space. I did the corporate thing. So I sent you a text message. Hey, Kolby, my name's Dom Faussette. I wanted to ask you a couple questions. Or I wanted to meet up with you or something like that. And your response was, what do you want? And nobody really has ever talked to me like that. It had been some time. I'll say that. So when you replied that way, I was like, wow, I'm Dom Faussette. In the corporate space, like in my arena, I was the man. So nobody talked to me like that. But I thought to myself, wow, like I wish everybody would talk this way simply because it saves time. So that's kind of how we connected. And then boom, we just shot from there, hopped on a phone call, shared your story, mine. It was like a 5 to 8 minute phone call. And that was it. And here we are 3 meltdowns later.
I know, right? It wasn't. Did I really say that? Like, what do you?
No, you did. I don't know if I saved the text message, but
I think it was like specifically, what do you want? I don't think it was just, what do you want? I think it might have been.
Do you use the word specifically in any text message?
Yes.
Not to me, you didn't.
I probably said that. Oh man. It was interesting because it's, and I'll share this story. We talked about this a little bit. It's in the corporate space. And this is one of the reasons I love Dom is the connection literally was our friend Henry in New York City runs a marketing firm, was doing Dom's rebranding. Said, hey, I got a buddy of mine who's in Phoenix. You're in Phoenix. Call him. He's a great dude. Great. That was how it started. And we were both in corporate, right? We were both in corporate America, and we were both executives and leaders of our own teams. And one of my mentors, he had an open door policy to where you could always come into his office and have conversations with him. But what he realized was all of his time was capitalized in these got-a-minute meetings, and he wasn't able to get work done. So he put a calendar up on the outside of his office that allowed people to come in, and he'd block out times of his day. And it was his week calendar of slots he would have open for got-a-minute meetings, because he wanted to talk these little 10-minute slots. You go and write your name down. And I remember how impressed I was by a couple things. One, the respect for his own time that he held.
Mm-hmm.
Respected his time enough to say, I can't stop everything I'm doing to just take a meeting, but the empathy to say, I want to help others and I want to make sure that your voice is heard if I can provide value. So I'm going to schedule parts of my day to do that. And I've taken that on since then, right? That's been 15 years to where I don't do the got-a-minute meetings. It's like,
right.
At that point, it was, you almost had to pay to talk to me. It's like, because if I took every got-a-minute meeting, then what am I not doing? The things that are most important to me, which are, if it's my business, my family, and my health, if I'm not doing one of those three things and I'm doing all these got-a-minute meetings, that means all of this other stuff that I've said is important, I'm not doing it. So is it really that important? And I think at that time, it was when I was making a hard, aggressive move from, I'm not doing these got-a-minute meetings. Like, I like you. We're all doing stuff. Great. How can I? And what it allows me to do in that space was, can I provide value first off? Because I don't want to waste your time either. So it's like, if you're going to ask me something I don't know about, I'm not going to, like, why waste the time? And I only talk about things I've done. I don't talk about things I'm thinking about doing or I'm going to do. So it comes from an experience perspective. So that kind of, if you put that into perspective, that was how Dom and I's relationship started. And I don't know what the turning point was. I remember we just stayed in touch. We met. You were doing your thing, came to the studio, the film studio. We just had always stayed kind of connected. And then I remember when we were doing the Meltdown that you spoke at, I don't know what it was when I was going through speakers, because I didn't know you as a speaker.
Nobody knew me as a speaker. You're the first person that brought me on to a non-corporate stage.
I was like, I didn't know you as that. So it was like, I had an inclining that was like, I know your story and I know you and I know the power that comes from talking to you, because who you are, like Dan said, you are who you are on stage as you are off stage. That's you. Dom Faussette, you're Dom Faussette. And I just had this feeling like I needed to, like, you need to be on, like, you should be speaking. And I remember the second you came out, I think we were having audio issues or the mic because of the room. That was even
right.
Went out, and you came out with no microphone. Within the first sentence, leveled the room. Nobody, including myself, because I'd never heard you speak.
Right.
Nobody was prepared for what you brought to that event. Like, people still continually talk about, I remember seeing Dom Faussette speak at the Meltdown. Like, it was a life-changing event for me. Jay Tiggs, who's going to be on this afternoon, I'll send you the link so you can see his personal story. He's a high-ranking career military man.
Right.
Seeing you speak broke his mindset from being fixed to growth. He's a grown man in the military, a very highly decorated military man that saw you speak and said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing this. And it completely changed his direction. Like, that came from, like, what you brought. People that don't know your story, it's one, I've known you now for 5 or 6 years, maybe longer. And we've had the opportunity, you and I have traveled around the US in kind of speaking at the same places, which has been awesome. Yep. I know your story. So growing up, as you're growing up in your family, you're in Southern California, you're in some rough parts of Southern California. Is it NorCal or Southern California? SoCal. You're in SoCal. It's rough. You're in some rough areas. As you're growing up, you make a pivot and you go into law enforcement.
Military.
The military first, then law enforcement after.
Correct.
As you go into the military, you go to the military, you go law enforcement, you find yourself at this really interesting crossroads of, I'm kicking in doors now, but now the meaning of kicking in doors to get the bad guys taking on a whole new meaning.
Right.
For people that don't know your story, walk them through that. So you're getting ready. Tell me about the position, and you're going to kick some doors in and things just change.
So just high level overview in the interest of time, and then wanting to talk about kind of where I'm at now. History is history, right? I used to kick indoors, serving warrants. A lot of cops do it, not a big deal. And it's you get to a point where I got to a point where I was kicking indoors, serving warrants, but I wanted to be taken out. So I do it without a bulletproof vest. Doing that led me into you see a lot of things as a cop, things that typically aren't reported in the news, that if you're not prepared as a 22, 23-year-old young man, you just not prepared to see certain things. And they take you to a very dark place. And the dark place for me was, all right, cool. If I get taken out, great. My parents will get the death benefit money and I can live my life as a hero. So long story short, got to a point where I'm about to engage a potential suspect. He's got a knife, 3 kids behind him. And I 2.5 pounds of trigger pull into a 5-pound trigger. I felt God tell me this is it's not your time to kill. It's your time to save, right? It's your time to save lives. So in that moment, I holstered my weapon. He charged after me off his porch. I charged him. I've been fighting for some time. I'm pretty decent. So I took him down and I blacked out. But by the time I came back to, probably a millisecond later, I effected the arrest. And in that moment, I realized, you know what, this isn't for me. So a couple weeks later, I put in my 2 weeks notice, left, and then through nepotism, I was able to jump into the corporate ranks, leveraging my background in law enforcement and the military. And long story short, met my wife. And you, like I said, Kolby, thank you very much. You're the first person outside of the corporate space that brought me on to a stage, and I've been crushing it since then. And here we are today, man. Oh, sound. Where are we on sound? I can't hear you.
I got you, man. Sorry.
Okay.
You wrote a book as you were in your corporate days before you left and made this decision to kind of go into business for yourself. Mm-hmm. Tell me about this book.
The book is, can you grab it for me, love? It's in the corner on the floor. It's something, this is how my mind works. When somebody says, do a thing, I just figure out a way to do it. End of story. So I wanted to be a speaker. Somebody said, Dom, you should write a book. Here's the book. Think, react, lead when success and accomplishments aren't enough. I'm a dude. It's written in true dude format, easy to read, big letters, a lot of spaces between the sentences. But it's got a workbook in the back, but I wrote the book. Actually, it launched the day before Meltdown, 3 years ago. But I wrote the book. It was just something that was told to me that I needed to do. And then slowly but surely, people started reading the book. And then slowly but surely, and everybody watching this knows that when you do a thing, it takes a couple years for people to just kind of start to notice that you've done the thing. And then what helped me out was not the writing the book, but hearing the messages of the lives that I've changed from the book. And that those messages, crazy as it sounds, come to me in my down moments. Now, you'll never see my down moments on social because I just grind. But for the people, I just think people are tied in a certain way and they feel led to do a thing. Dom, this book changed my life. And in that moment, it's like that a quick charge for me to keep moving.
I love it. Why? What was the big push, man? So you're doing well in corporate America. You make this decision on, well, what's the decision you made? For people that don't know you, you're in corporate America, and then all of a sudden something happens and you make a decision to completely change what you're doing, leave a 6-figure job to go do what and why?
So I've never stayed at the same company for longer than, let's say, 4 years. I get antsy pretty quick. And I got to a moment where I realized I'm not going to climb anymore. Yes, I had a 6-figure salary, but I wasn't fulfilled by it, right? And many people can attest to that. And I started doing videos to impact the employees that I led. And I realized those videos that I was doing on social media was going, I mean, they were going outside of the company. And I realized that I could make an impact. What impact? I don't know. And I asked my dad one day, I said, hey, I think I'm ready to leave. And he said, look, let me explain something. My dad's my dad. Let me explain something to you, boy. If you can't handle the couple of coaching clients that you have, the little itty bitty, speaking engagements that you have, and you can't handle your 40 to 50 hours worth of work per week, you'll never be able to handle becoming a millionaire. So I stayed. But once I overloaded myself, and I'm using the word overload, I don't feel that I was overloaded, but once I stacked my agenda with all kind of stuff to do, projects in the business, projects at work, and I felt the pressure, and I smiled in the face of the pressure, then I realized 6 months later that I was ready to leave. I had fallen in love with my spouse, who my spouse now had a solid support system. And then I was ready to leave. And my mantra has changed one life every day for the rest of my life. And for me, it was really about being happy. Like I wasn't happy in the workplace. I wanted to make a difference. And I know people say it all the time, and I share this, when you stand over somebody who's breathing their last breath and you realize that human beings, just the human experience is that fragile that a thought could make a person put a gun to their heart, or a thought could make a person go down the street and then get shot, I'm talking cop stuff. You realize, you know what? Maybe tomorrow's not promised. So what can I do today to make the biggest impact that I can? And that's where change one life every day for the rest of my life comes from.
The end part of that story that you didn't share that I think is really important on the breaking in the door story was the son. Was it the son that was standing there? Like,
yeah,
there was a moment where in the heat of things, you've got a gun, like you could kill this guy. And then the son.
Oh yeah. I would have been good. 3 taps and he's out. I'm good.
Yeah. And it's, killing a father in front of his kid, having that, like literally that split second decision to not do that, especially in today's landscape. Like we hear so many things about what's happening with law enforcement, and to have that, the discipline and stop. And then that being a kind of a catalyst to changing things. You get to corporate America, you change, you decide you want to continue leading, but you want to lead executives specifically. You're building a program. You built a program, Think, React, Lead.
Right.
It's for the executive that wants to speak. Tell me a little bit about that program. What is Think, React, Lead? Why would who's it for? What is it?
So there's a Think, React, Lead is a mantra that I've lived by for years. Think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead. That's just something that I've done for me, which led into Command Presence. I started coaching executives while I was working. And what I found was what people saw in me was the fact that I was really showing up smiling and happy every day. And then once people learned my story, like, how in the world do you smile and you're dealing with, in the moment, depression, dealing with the fact that you struggle with Tourette's, dealing with all these night terrors and getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep. I'm like, at the end of the day, like, I'm not getting shot at. For me, that's the way I look at it. And if I can love and be loved, for me, that makes my existence even greater. And I'm not knocking anybody that does. I don't drink or smoke. I don't do anything to my body that's going to allow my mind to go to a different space outside of the purpose that it's for. So when I started just having these natural conversations with executives from either the company I was in or companies at networking events, I would meet them. They would ask to have conversations with me later on. But one thing I've always valued was time. And if you're not skateboarding, if you're not riding motorcycles, or our spouses aren't hanging out, anything we talk about, I'm going to have to charge you. So in the beginning, I just did it just to get my time back. But people started paying the money. And somebody told me, Dom, you can really do something with this. So I did something with it. So it's not that it's for a specific executive, right? If I've had people that I would have never guessed would have been attracted to the messaging that I have. Think, React, Lead was my first program, but I've moved that or repositioned that to Command Presence, because that for me, confidence, which is a level, or Command Presence, a level of confidence, is that thing that allows people to show up in their true authenticity. And I think Bryce was he was talking about that. You know what? You find out what you're made of, and you're either going to put in the work or you're not. And those aren't his words, I'm paraphrasing. But I've learned to just show up being different every day, even though I'm going to the VA for counseling, or even though I still have to go, I want to do all these different things and learn about Dom Faussette. So it's interesting to see 3 years of this. July 17th will mark 3 years in entrepreneurship. And for those people that are watching this, see anybody on here that thinks that anybody's perfect, I can honestly say that you push through the struggles, because I had to have a conversation with my wife the other day, and I've struggled with depression probably for the last decade, and intermittently thoughts of suicide will come in. And 2 out of 3 people think about what would life be like without them here on this earth. And I had to share this with my wife, and I was sharing it in a very nonchalant way. Hey, love, by the way, I'm having some suicidal thoughts. And this was last week, right, love? And she's looking at me like, bro, or like, what am I supposed to do with this? I said, look, there's so much power in just stating it. Like, I'm not going anywhere. This is not the first time I've had these. Me saying it was great. Do I continue to go to the VA? I will. But I want people to think that when you have those thoughts, when you push and your purpose is for the greater good or greatness of other people, those thoughts just go away. Right. I do still have night terrors. Sometimes I get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. You'll see my Instagram. I'm running at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm going a 2-mile run. But that's when you go with your intuition and you go with your gut. Depression. And these are things coming in from they're trying to flank you. Suicidal thoughts, right? Leaving your spouse, not loving yourself. Those things get blocked out when you just do. How do I get up at 1 in the morning and go for a run? It's not planned. I do. And then 4 hours later, show up at the radio station. It's just you go. And when you're dialed in with self and you're able to engage command presence and you push, guess what? The world tries to squeeze you out. You're just like, bro, I got this. You can't, like, suicide's not going to take you out. Depression's not going to take you out. Whatever illnesses, whatever mental conditioning that you have, it just goes away when you're dialed in on you.
And on that note, everybody, we're done for the day. We wrap up for this edition, sponsored by Dr. Faussette. Oh man, I love it. I absolutely love it. One of the things, and a lot of the stuff I know people will have to go back and they're going to have to re-listen, because you and I, we've told our stories so many times, sometimes we glaze. There was a really important series of things that I hope those that are watching caught. If you didn't catch it now, go back and when we do the replay, watch the replay, where Dom mentioned specifically his life experiences through how he was raised, the military, the police force, led him to a place where I'm sleeping in closets. I have night terrors. I have Tourette's. I'm a black man in America. I've got all these things every one of those things is an excuse. Every one of those things is an excuse. Do you know what I don't hear? I never, ever, ever once have ever heard you say, because of insert night terrors, I can't do this.
I can't.
You know what I mean? Like, because I have experienced PTSD, I can't do that. Like, it's never been a crutch. It's been the story and the glue that's been the foundation that gets us where we know who you are now. Like, those people that know you, like, over the last handful of years.
Most people will say I can't, but if you're saying I don't say I can't, what you do say is I don't know how, or how do I? No, it's not how do I or I don't know how. It's I'm going to. And the first step, then second step, you're figuring it out. That's all it is. Trust me, I'm not the prime candidate for radio. I make weird noises with my mouth. I stutter, right? I'm on a very far right-winged radio station platform. I don't care. You give me the mic and an airwave. I don't care what it's about. I don't talk race, religion, politics. I don't talk those things. I talk things that I know about. I stay in my lane, because when you see somebody burn alive, guess what? Their skin burns, not brown skin, white, whatever color skin. When you see somebody kill themselves, they're not killing their white self, black self, Asian. What they're killing is hurt. What they're killing is lack of hope. What they're depressed about is not race relations. It's not political. It's everything that attaches itself to the heart and the mind. And if I can help bridge the gap between the mind and the heart, then I've done my job.
Let me ask you this, man. Have you deliberately, kind of like based on where things are, just where we are, the landscape that we're in?
Yeah.
Do you know what I don't see from you?
I know exactly what you don't see.
I haven't and maybe I missed it, or maybe
No, you don't see it, but go ahead.
you know exactly what I'm going to say. Is I have not seen you address the landscape at all. I haven't heard you talk about coronavirus. I haven't heard you talk about business shutdowns. I haven't heard you talk about
Black Lives Matter.
I haven't heard you talk, and I know you have a take about it, but I haven't seen anything. And I'll tell you, let me ask you, A, is that deliberate? And B, if it is, why?
So it is deliberate, and is not that I don't care about those things. It's not that it's not important, but hurt is hurt. I don't care if it's COVID-19 that you lost your job. I don't care if you are a Black male, female, and you're trying to figure out this landscape, or things that you don't see in the media. If you're a mom who has a kid with cancer in the child ward, at the hospital, or if you just lost a parent, or if you yourself, not you yourself, but an individual is dealing with suicidal thoughts or depression, or somebody who just got raped, or whatever it is, I don't care, because hurt is hurt. And if I can attach hope to that hurt, then we don't pay attention to COVID. We don't pay attention to any of the race relations. We don't pay attention to politics, because all of these things are waves. Right now it's COVID-19. Tomorrow it's Black Lives Matter. The next day it's the presidential candidate. Maybe it's some flu. There's some bug. There's a crash of some sort. There's always a thing. And if I were to reposition myself every single time to address a thing, guess what I'm taking away from? I'm taking away from the purpose that God's placed in my heart. God didn't put me on this earth to talk about all these things. No, he put me on this earth to talk about helping people engage a level of command presence, so that they can have confidence in speaking through their Tourette, speaking through their stuttering, and speaking on stage on camera. And who cares about how overweight they are, and getting past suicidal thoughts, right? Changing the mindsets of the adults, so that when they sit down at their family table and they talk to their 3 or 4 kids, they're not passing on generations of mental illness. What they're passing on is, and we use the word legacy, right? For me to be able to talk to my wife and say, hey, love, for the last couple of nights, I've had dreams of killing myself, and I still do with some suicidal thoughts, but it's cool. Anyways, I'm gonna go get some donuts. What flavor do you want? Right? It's to be able to just speak the things that most people aren't going to talk about, and do the things that most people want to do, which is show up and change a life, but they don't know how to put in the work. And maybe it's because at the age of 7 they were raped, but now they're 42 and they're trying to transfer the energy, but the energy they're trying to transfer is so negative that they can't get out of bed. That's beyond race relations. That's beyond politics. I just want people to love their spouse and not talk negative to them. I don't curse at my wife. Why? Because if you did, I'd knock you out. So I don't say anything. Not you, Cole. Well, everybody. So I respect myself. And if people could just respect themselves and engage command presence in everything that they do, guess what? They'll start treating everybody right. I literally went to this place called Brisbane Island. No, that's Australia. Bainbridge Island yesterday. And my wife, for the first time in her life with me, saw prejudice. Literally walking down the stair path, this lady walks off of the stair path, rolls her eyes at me, and then gets back on after I've created some distance. And everybody in this little small town is staring at us like we're a plague. I said, babe, I've been dealing with this trust me, as a cop from Jackson, Mississippi, and the places I've been, it happens. It doesn't bother me. Hurt breeds that. And if I can help people not hurt, guess what? I help them change.
I love it, dude. You said something really powerful the last time you and I were talking, and I kind of was getting to ask you that question, but we were kind of we had a little bit. There's a time crunch, right? You said something that really stuck with me, and I'd heard it a few times, but it's absolutely true. If you remember, it was, if you're broke now, You didn't just happen to be broke now. You were broke before. This was just a
Facts.
magnifying glass.
Yep.
So whatever the landscape is, this is a magnifying glass of where you already were, or you were on your way to. This is kind of this like fast tracked you.
Right.
I know that that's a very general statement to paint across the board, but I think in more cases than not, it's like it's pretty true. It's pretty true. So like, why go through and address all of those things when, like you said, yeah, you're kind of chasing ambulances. One of my favorite, I meant to say this when Dan was speaking, but you never see a moving truck behind a hearse.
Nope.
Why? Nobody's taking any of that stuff with them.
They're not.
It, right? What's the joke was like the Egyptians tried and then they got looted. So it's like he built this, like it didn't work out. So it's like you never see a moving truck behind the hearse. It's like you're not taking it with you.
Most people talk about this stuff for attention.
Yeah.
Most people talk about it for attention and engagement. I had a client, and or they feel bad client, white lady, blonde hair, blue eyes, and she hosts an event thing. And I said, in your social media feed, you had a black square. Why? She said, well, my kid said if I don't, then I'm part of the problem. I'm like, really? You're not. You have a black coach. You are not part of the problem. Like, people just need to stay in their lane. And I'm not saying don't bring attention to things, but if your social media platform, mine is to build a better life for my family. I can't attach every single thing and issue that's on CNN or Fox News. I can't attach that to my social media feed, because guess what? When somebody's scrolling through my feed a year from now and they see these things, what if that one negative thing that I post pushes them over the edge? Then I haven't done my job.
You know what? It gives me a completely, because I've been wanting to ask you that question. It's like, dude, you've just stayed away. And it's like, I know
my white friends want to ask me that question. They're like, Dom, how come you haven't done it? And I got, as an ex-cop, as a black guy, I get the questions and my answer won't change.
Yeah.
My purpose is larger.
That was the answer. I mean, I think the answer that you gave hit it right on the head. It's looking back. Yes, I have a take. My focus is here. In the future, I don't want people looking back and having those things be a turnoff. If you want to know how I feel, ask me. I'll tell you how I feel. Like, I have a feeling, I have a take. Just because I don't share that take on social media doesn't mean I don't have one.
Very true.
And if I don't want to use my platform in that way, where some people, that's their whole platform.
Right.
I've chosen the platform to be, like you said, to help support and build the generational wealth for the family. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of respect.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
My man, I'm gonna get ready to bring George on here. Is there what's hot? What's top of mind for you right now, man? Is there anything pressing that you wanna talk about before we go?
You know what? It's I want people to feel about mental health the way they feel about engaging physical health, right? A lot of people will go for a run, they'll go to the gym, and they're positive about it. Yeah, I'm taking care of my physical health. And it's a positive conversation. Just like your biceps and your triceps and your quadriceps and all the other seps in your body, mental health is a positive thing. Going to get help is like, that's like the strongest person in the world. You want to be strong? Go get mental help. Because there's so much inside of us that's trying to come out. If all of it came out at once, we'd be babbling idiots sucking on our thumb in the corner. But it almost drips out. As you make steps towards changing you and getting better mentally and bridging the gap between your mind and your heart, it's almost like your purpose becomes stronger. My purpose is so strong right now. Why? Because my mental health is strong. Why is it that I can just have a nonchalant, during a commercial break, conversation with my spouse about suicidal dreams that I've had? Because I don't put a big to-do on the things. It's like, if I have a cramp in my leg, I don't scream and my life changed. No, I stretch a little bit, eat better, and the cramps go away in my leg. Now with mental health, if I, again, stretch the brain, right? Stretch my possibilities, stretch the love and relationship that I have for my spouse, stretch the relationships that I have with my children. There's no space for the negative aspects of mental health. What there is space for, let's get our mind healthy, right? Why do we drink the drinks that we do? We juice things to get the body healthy, which also gets the mind healthy. So my only ask is that if you really want to engage command presence and you want to be basically, you just want to be dope in everything that you do, learn how to have fun, but grow the strength of your mind as fervently as you grow the strength of self.
That's powerful. That's powerful. I'm going to ask you one last question here, too. First, I know what that means, but to the person that doesn't understand what that means, give me a tactic. How can I strengthen my mental? How do I strengthen my mental?
In the beginning, just go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Let's just say, worst case scenario, you don't have the insurance to go do that. You got money to go do it. I guarantee you there's somewhere along the line that you're spending on alcohol, or you're spending somewhere on something that you take that coin and you can go apply it elsewhere. The other thing is, this is something that I do. My wife thinks I'm crazy, which I probably am. But when my eyes open up, I get out of bed. So my eyes open up at 1:17 in the morning. If my eyes open up at 3:15 in the morning, I get up. I'll go for a run. I'll go for a walk. There's so much power in fresh air, getting off of your bed, out of your house, taking a walk, going outside and getting some fresh air. You don't have to go for a run like I do, but in order for one to understand their gut and get engaged with their intuition. So when I think as an executive, react like a soldier, and lead to engage command presence and everything that you do, you have to own everything that you do. Owning things is, my eyes open up 3 hours before my alarm is set. I don't care. I'm going to get out there and get some. And then once you get out and go walk 4 miles, 2 miles, 3 miles, or go run, come back, shower. Maybe you start your day. You read. Right? You eat right. Stop doing things just because it makes you feel good. 99% of the things you are actually supposed to be doing won't make you feel good at first. The 1% that does make you feel good, all that is a spark of inspiration. And that spark of inspiration goes away the moment you turn on the news, you watch something, you read something that you're not supposed to, or you scroll through social media. And for those of you that are trying to grow a business, post on social media and go. You should be doing a video every single day. Do one for at least 365 days and watch the change that you have, not in just yourself, not in others, but in your business as a whole.
There you go. Again, we're done for today. Today's show is sponsored by. Oh man, dude! The first time I met you, from having you on stage to right now, I love and honor and respect who you are as a human. You've been an outside mentor and influence on me many ways. And I want to let you know how much I appreciate you.
Likewise, brother. Thank you very much for your support and being the first one to help me get my message out there. I greatly appreciate you.
Well, you've been consistent. And it's one of those things where I made the joke yesterday. Like when I look at your face, you're exhausted, and you're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, because everything you're doing, it's like 25-pound weight vest, 14 cameras, drones. I'm on a skateboard, rolling in my motorcycle down a mountain. And then, oh, by the way, my wife is right here with me. She's doing the same. It's like, what? Dude, I'm exhausted looking at your feed, man. Like, I got to get up and do something. What am I? I got to be doing something, anything. Just
do some jumping jacks.
Just walk in a circle. Like, I'm doing something. So I appreciate it, man. And I mean, you just grabbed, learned, and grown, and like you've helped so many people, man. I love to see the impact that you make, man. I'm honored to have you on today. So thank you for joining us. Thanks, brother. I greatly appreciate you and your audience. Thank you. Where can people find you? DomFaussette.com. Like I tell my wife, Google me. DOM F as in Frank, AUSSETTE, and everything is Dom Faussette. I love it. George Chanos, I'm about ready to bring you in. Where's your lovely wife, man? She got makeup on. She want to jump in and say hi? She's sitting in the corner. She's half dressed. I mean, it would help my views on my social media. I love it. I love it. Well, hey, thank you for letting us steal your husband for a little bit of your vacation. I've learned more than ever that having the right person in your corner is the difference maker between struggling and then getting past that adversity to find who your true self is when you've got a partnership. So, and that comes out of a good solid, good solid queen and partner. I know you have that. So
do I?
I got to give her credit for a lot of the things that you are, because I think she allows you to have the space to do that.
Oh, and she totally does.
Just like I have mine. I've been given the space and the opportunity to heal and to progress and to grow and to talk about things I wouldn't have addressed before.
Mm-hmm.
So, without those women and those significant others in our life, there'd be a different Kolby and a different Dom Faussette.
So true.
Okay,
so
my brother,
true.
man.
Thanks, brother.
I'll bring George in. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of your vacation. Later.
Thank you. Ciao.